There's a lot of pay-per-views before WrestleMania. I kind of forget that every year, and then we get to this point, I'm like, good grief, I had Elimination Chamber, and then I blinked, and Fastlane is about to go straight up my ass. Hopefully not literally. I believe that may hurt. But it's true, it's on its way, it's happening this Sunday, so the last thing we've got to do before we get there is up those downs for a little show called SmackDown. It's just happened, it's over, it's done, it was the go-home episode, but was it any good? Or did it absolutely suck? My name is Simon Miller, this is WhatCulture Wrestling. Let's up those downs for SmackDown. SmackDown began this week with a graphic for King Kong Bundy, who tragically passed away this week at only 61 years of age. So of course everybody here at WhatCulture wants to send our thoughts and prayers to the friends and family of the wrestling legend. We then got into proceedings proper, and Daniel Bryan was walking to the ring with his mate Recyclable Rowan. And I really like this because it was quite cool. He got into the squared circle, and rather than say anything, he just pointed at the screen, and then a badass video recapping everything that happened last week aired, and it reminded you when WWE does this well, barely anybody can touch him. Up. From there, Daniel Bryan went on one of his usual tirades, and he was focusing this week on Kofi Kingston. The fans didn't like that at all, and they cheered for the New Day member until they realized that they weren't going to be there because those three are off in India doing a promotional tour. Daniel was done with that, so he then turned his attentions to Kevin Owens. Daniel said he understands why the audience warms to KO so much, because not only do they talk like him and act like him, but they also look like him, and that was doubly hilarious, because then WWE did cut to the crowd on this evening, and it was just a bunch of dudes with beards. I always like it when a heel makes a good point. Shout out to Rowan too, because during all of this, he just grabbed the microphone from nowhere and started saying, shut up, and he sounded like that old program you used to have on your computer called Narrator, and you remember that. You used to type in stupid stuff and then have the computer read it back to you, so it would go, penis, balls, testicles, and you'd laugh because you were an immature fool. Eventually, Owens has heard enough and he stormed out there to dispute all this. He said that during his time off, he'd been watching Raw and SmackDown as a fan, and because of that, he went back to his roots and reconnected with the WWE Universe, and that explains his face turn. But the only person that made him want to turn his television off was Daniel Bryan, and that's why he's gonna go to the pay-per-view on Sunday and whoop his ass and take his hemp-made title. It ended with a big brawl between Kevin and Rowan, but eventually Daniel Bryan and his mate were standing tall, and all of this was fine. It's a nice, easy build until their match in a few days, especially because WWE didn't give it a lot of time. But I will say this, just a teeny little criticism. WWE's trying a little bit too hard to underline the fact that yes, Kevin Owens is now a good guy. But that is a minor criticism, and I think this bout at Fastlane is going to be alright. And also in terms of SmackDown, later on we are going to get the recyclable one taking on Kevin Owens. And another up too, because out next were the Usos, and I thought they were really rather entertaining. They insulted The Miz and his weird relationship he's got with his dad, and said Shane McMahon is so obsessed with jumping off things, next he's probably going to climb up to the top of the WrestleMania sign and just dive off. And he probably will. They continue to play this role where they're kind of good guys and kind of bad guys, and eventually Miz and Shane McMahon were out there too. They delivered some not so great lines, and that transitioned into Jey Uso taking on The Miz. And it went as you'd probably expect from there. Jimmy kept trying to get involved. Shane McMahon didn't like that, so he clocked him one, and because of all the fracas, The Miz was able to hit the skull-crushing finale and get the 1, 2, 3. All this, give it up. I still think that one of them is going to turn at Fastlane, which will then set up a match for WrestleMania. The only question is who becomes bad. Is it Shane McMahon? Is it The Miz? There's only one way to find out. A quick backstage segment with Charlotte followed. She says she's not sure where Becky Lynch is, but she wants to invite her to the ring later so they can have a little chat, and I wonder if anything's gonna go wrong there. It was R-Truth US Title Open Challenge next, and boy howdy did this pull out my heartstrings, even though obviously I hope my heart doesn't have strings, because it means I'm either a puppet or I'm about to keel over and die. He is of course emulating his hero John Cena, but he couldn't believe that Cena used to defend his championship week in, week out And bless him, Truth is already absolutely exhausted. He did agree to go another round this week, and I tell you, he's got to be regretting it now, because not only did he have to take on Samoa Joe, not only did he have to take on Andrade, but he also had to take on Rey Mysterio in a fatal four-way. And if you can believe it, sit down, get ready to breathe this in. Your new US champion is the one and only Samoa Joe. When that happened, I went absolutely nuts in my house and probably confused the neighbours, as all they could hear was some crazy bald guy going, "Joe, Joe," but I don't care, man, because all of this is not just an up, it's a damn golden up. This was just great fast-paced action from the off too. Everybody had their working shoes on, and when R-Truth did his daft thing where he pays homage to Cena by doing his own version of the Fine Knuckle Shuffle, well, I tell you this, makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, because R-Truth's just such a good guy. It's the finish I care about though, because after a bunch of near falls, Samoa Joe made his move. It certainly looked like the Rey Mysterio was going to win. He had Andrade down, but Joe was having none of it. He slipped in the ring, he picked up Andrade himself, he slammed into the floor, and he did indeed win his first ever title on the main roster, and my word is this overdue. And sure, having a US Open challenge that only lasts 2 weeks is absolutely ridiculous, but sometimes the destination is actually more important than the journey, and that is what has happened here. Joe is the US champion and no one deserves it more. It's flipping wonderful, especially because after this, he cut a promo, and it was such a good promo, it made me want to take my head and smash it through a wall, because somehow Joe was able to sound really happy, but also like he was gonna go and murder the entire WWE roster. My only worry is that this doesn't become a Bray Wyatt situation. You remember what happened a couple of years ago. Wyatt won the WWE title, and then he just lost it a couple of months later at WrestleMania. And Samoa Joe did mention John Cena's name a lot. While that would actually be quite a good Mania match, I don't want to see Samoa Joe lose the US Championship for at least 672 years. I ain't going to worry about that now, I'm just going to enjoy the moment, and all of this, joy of joys. Just so you know as well, before the match, Lacey Evans did her daft walk, and here we are like a month down the line, and we still don't know why she's doing it. We also saw Becky Lynch backstage walking on a crutch, and while the New Day are in India, they also said they'll be back for Fastlane. Alistair Black and Ricochet then beat the bar. Alright, can't be mad at that. You'd have to imagine originally this spot was meant for Gargano and Ciampa, but because the latter is injured, things have had to change. And yeah, you're going to have Ricochet and Alistair Black continue to win, continue on this momentum ever since they debuted. I'm not mad at it. I said that, I'll say it again. I'm not mad at it. Up. And it was a pretty straightforward affair until the match itself was done, but Cesaro did get smashed in the face with Black Mass. Ricochet followed that up with the 630 splash. That was that. Onwards we go. As hinted though, there was some nonsense. After all this, Nakamura and Rusev hit the ring and they started laying waste to Black and Ricochet until the Hardy Boys, including Matt Hardy in his old Matt Hardy gear, I know he did that last week but he's doing it again and I love it, ran out to make the save. They beat up the bar, they beat up Nakamura and Rusev, and then all the good guys were standing tall in the ring, celebrating and probably sending invitations round for coffee and cake later on in the day. There is some interest here, man, because obviously on Sunday we got Black and Ricochet going after the Raw Tag Team titles, but they're also involved in this. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But again, just another teeny little criticism, another one from earlier. I do think these two feel like they've cooled off just a little. Maybe we could spice things up again, but it's still awesome to see them. Just ridiculousness with Mandy Rose and Naomi though. They had a match and it didn't even go 60 seconds. Around about 40 seconds in, Sonya Deville hopped up on the apron. That distracted Naomi, the classic WWE distraction. So Mandy Rose whacked her in the face and hit the Angel's wings, and that was that. What a pointless waste of my time. I could have used it to have gone deadlifting or something. Down. The concept, of course, was to make sure that Mandy Rose feels really strong before her championship match with Asuka on Sunday, and that's how all this ended when Rose and Deville were stood at the top of the aisle going, yes, yes, we did it, aren't we the best? From nowhere, Asuka just appeared, and that was actually quite a cool camera shot, and then she just booted them both in the head. This all does feel a bit rushed, however, and again, another one of those moments where you go, couldn't we just shell Fastlane and enjoy everything from Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania, rather than have to kind of fit some stories in just because that's how the calendar works. You know, you control the calendar, WWE. You can do whatever you want. I like the AJ Styles interview, however. Planted those seeds. He was vocalizing his support for Kofi Kingston while also questioning the McMahon's decisions before Randy Orton walked up, and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. In fact, he was so surprised he had an epiphany and he said to AJ Styles, No wonder it took you 15 years to get here. Kapow! Orton absolutely spat that line too, which was great. And yeah, I do think we're going to have AJ Styles versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 35, and something inside of me tells me that could actually be a really, really good match. And it's also a bit like two styles colliding, forgive the pun, because I'm so old. I remember back in the day that Randy Orton was put up on a pedestal as the quintessential WWE guy, and on the indie scene, AJ Styles was taking that role as well. And here we are in 2019, and these two behemoths are about to clash. Makes me feel like we've come a long way. Yeah, who knows what's next. And out of nowhere, Brown down now though, and it's for an announcement, and we don't usually do that, but this one deserves it, because it was at this point in the show that we got told there was a brand new match happening at Fastlane. It was going to be Andrade versus Rey Mysterio. I started to get excited. I started to get pumped. I could feel the hairs on my body standing up on them, not my head, for obvious reasons, only for then to be informed it's happening on the pre-show. Well, whoop da flippin' do. Brown down. Owens versus the Recyclable One was up next, and it was absolutely fine. It ticked the boxes it needed to tick. Up. It was never going to end cleanly, which is why Rowan got disqualified after Daniel Bryan had got involved. And then these two schmucks started to beat KO down, which begged and asked the question, well, who's going to come out now to save the challenger for the WWE title? And can you believe it? It was a returning Mustafa Ali. He kicked all the ass before Kevin Owens finished this off with a stunner. And as I was away last week, I just want to say that I absolutely approve of Kevin Owens using the stunner as his finisher. I mean, Stone Cold hasn't been smashing them out for around about 15 years. And who better to take on that mantle than Kevin Owens, especially because he's trying to get over as a face. I'm a big fan of that decision, and it just makes me love Kevin even more. And I'm sure he'll be really happy to hear that he has my love. And then we got to the end of SmackDown, and as ever, it just goes so fast. That 2-hour format, eh? But it was Charlotte Flair, it was Becky Lynch, it was their big hoo-ha, let's build up our match in a few days, and it's gonna get enough. It didn't pull out any amazing surprises, and instead just ran the course. Charlotte came out, she said some bad words about Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch. Then Becky Lynch arrived and she said some bad words about Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, but the underlying statement was that Ronda is a Fruit Loop now. Charlotte got bored of all of this after a while, and she went after Becky's knee, but she forgot that Bex has one of those crutches. So Lynch grabbed the crutch, she slammed it into Charlotte Flair, she applied the disarmer, and that is how SmackDown went off air. Charlotte was all hurt, Becky was celebrating. What does that mean for the pay-per-view? My guess would be that there's no actual winner in that match, and that Ronda's crazy train of fun party rolls into the station and just upsets it for everybody, hence why we have to have the triple threat match, because we can't decipher between these three. But who knows, WWE could even have Becky Lynch lose and take her out of the WrestleMania 35 event, and just a small tiny part of me wants that, because Twitter would blow up, and that would be the end of social media as we know it. That's how precious and important all of this has become. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's SmackDown and what you're expecting from Fastlane. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. Go and watch more videos. Especially ups and downs from Raw, you gotta finish the double. My name is Simon Miller, you've been watching WhatCulture Wrestling, and for all those people that have seen the glitches over the last few weeks, I've sorted it. It's all done, and we're gonna be revealing the truth to you soon in an exclusive video here on WhatCulture Wrestling. But if you want a small spoiler, Tamatonga, the Bullet Club, your days are numbered. WhatCulture's coming to kick your ass.